Hey everyone, Michael here again, taking another swing out of the usual Climate Swings format, and giving you a special episode about my Europe travels. If you've been following the podcast, you know that I have been in Europe for about the last month and a half. We were in Barcelona for pretty much all of May, and now we're in Madrid. And I just wanted to let you know where our heads are at and what we're thinking might be coming next. So we left Barcelona in early June, and I've been reflecting a lot on what my husband and I are interested in getting out of whatever city we decide we want to move to, at least for the next couple of years, if not even longer. But I can say confidently that the last 2 weeks in Barcelona were really exceptional, filled with great activities and plenty of networking in the climate and sustainability community. One moment that really left an impression was running into Chapel Roan on the street. In the Gothic Quarter, Daniel and I were just walking in one direction. She was coming toward us, big red hair, pancake white makeup, cute little red lips, wearing this cute little black Stevie Nicks kind of dress, surrounded by an entourage. I did a double take. Our eyes met very briefly. I kept walking in my direction. She passed me. I elbowed Daniel and I told him, "Is that Chapel Roan?" And we both turned around and kind of started to follow her. She is notoriously prickly about public interaction, so I think she kind of started to walk a little faster. Maybe she was whispering to one of her handlers, "That guy noticed me, let's walk a little faster." But she wasn't wearing any disguise at all. So if she wanted to be noticed, she definitely accomplished that. Unfortunately, we didn't get to say hello or stop and take a picture because her and her team basically just did a sharp right turn into a restaurant and disappeared into the back. No check-in, no hello, just disappeared. But that definitely left an impression. And so, Barcelona overall was a very bittersweet departure. I always knew it was going to come to an end, at least for now. If you're interested in a little bit more details, I wrote a LinkedIn post and I'll put a link in the show notes. And now, 2 weeks into our Madrid leg of the trip, I definitely noticed that there's a very strong contrast between the two cities. So, first, the good. Madrid is a beautiful, vibrant place filled with stunning architecture, monuments, and museums. We are staying in the lovely Malasaña neighborhood. For anybody familiar with Madrid, it's just like this, like out of a storybook, filled with these really charming cobblestone streets, very cute artisanal cafes, quirky boutiques, a lot of like art, galleries. It's really just stunning. If anything, Madrid is just really more lively than Barcelona. It's June right now, and the sun doesn't set until almost like 10 p.m. So the streets are just filled with people until well into the night, and the plazas just people are out drinking and carousing, just basically at all hours. As expected, of course, it really does feel more Spanish than Barcelona. I would say Barcelona has much more of an idiosyncratic vibe. There's the mix, of course, of the Catalan influence, but also the Spanish and kind of the international influences, which Barcelona has absorbed over the past centuries and decades. Of course, Madrid, being so Spanish, is a cultural powerhouse, of course, in the Spanish-speaking world. For me, this is, good and maybe not as appealing. I did study Spanish for years in middle school and in high school and grew up around many Spanish speakers in the Bay Area. So Spanish culture has always sort of been there in the background for me. And yet, if I'm looking for a European base to connect with the climate and sustainability community in particular, I do think Barcelona feels a little bit more plugged in. That's, of course, not to say that there isn't a climate community in Madrid. In fact, I've really been impressed with the people I've connected with, students and Terra Do alumni, and just people working on really interesting projects. But I do kind of feel like Barcelona might have the edge in that regard. Of course, there are other factors. As I described in my last travelogue episode a couple of weeks ago, Barcelona is just like this dense, walkable, pedestrian-friendly place. I do think it beats Madrid on kind of just like the city feel. I can put a link to that episode in the show notes if you missed it. It's also, for someone like me, more appealing as a queer man. Barcelona is very visibly and proudly queer. Honestly, I think it's probably the most LGBT friendly major city in Europe. Now, I of course also want to be clear that Daniel and I have not fully made up our minds yet, but I do think we are leaning more in one direction. we have 2 more weeks in Madrid, and we definitely want to make the most of it. We have some friends, out of town friends, who are visiting right now. So we're going to be hanging out with them, sort of seeing the city as a tourist again. I'm making more appointments and connecting with more people in the climate space. So that's going to be interesting and exciting. One thing I definitely should note, especially if you haven't been here in this time of year, being here in June is tough. It's just so searingly hot that it's basically difficult to be outside from the hours of like 2 p.m. till 7 p.m. So just take note of that if you're planning on coming here at any point. But as the Danish say, there's no bad weather, only bad clothing. So we're not going to let it stop us from making the most of this and really enjoying the city. So thank you all for tuning into this special episode of Climate Swings, and I will be back next week with another interview with a trailblazer in climate and sustainability. And actually, this next one coming up is a really interesting episode, and I really encourage you to watch it on my Substack or my YouTube or on Spotify, since there's a really big visual component, which is a little different than my usual episodes. So in the meantime, have a good one, and I will see you next week.